Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. That sounds slightly muffled. Let me give it the old reset. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing, testing. Alright, I think that's good. Alright, hello, 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 and welcome back to another reading stream. It's been a while since we did this, and it's been a while since we returned to this book in particular. You see, I wasn't really feeling it for a while, because I had other things on my mind, and just didn't feel the vibe to do this one for a while. I took a sidestep into Goosebump Horrorlands, but we can pause that series for a moment to continue this book. I'm taking at least a day break from doing more FGO or Fate in general. I couldn't really decide on what I wanted to do. So I finally ended up deciding on this. It took me a while, that's why I'm late today. So I do apologize. But with all that being said, last time in Journey to the West, we reached the conclusion of the first big arc in the setting up for what is going to be the story. The Monkey King was defeated. That had happened technically 2 times ago. And then the author spent some time sucking the Buddha's dick. And then we have the setup for the main story of spreading, I think it's Buddhism? I don't think it's Taoism. I think it's Buddhism. Can't remember. Anyways, but spreading that by sending someone to go collect scrolls. It was by journeying to the west, getting them, and bringing them back east. To my knowledge, I think that's what's happening. Anyways, so the Buddha sent out a disciple that prepared 3 people to join the person they chose. And the person they chose, I believe, you pronounce their name Cheng'en. But we'll be starting that journey here real soon. So, I hope y'all are ready. Let me grab my book. That messed up. Oh, that stuff's still over there. There we go. I made myself invisible to avoid that looking tacky. Alright. Let us begin. Let me increase the size of my window here. Chapter 9. Cheng'en. going to his post, meets disaster. Monk River floats, avenging his parents, repays his roots. We now tell you about the city of Cheng'en, in the great nation's Shanxi, or Sanxin, in province, which was the place that kings and emperors from the generation to generation had made their capital, is the period of Zhao, Shen, and Han. 3 countries of flower bloom like brocades, and 8 rivers flowed, encircling the city. It was truly a land of great scenic beauty. At the time, the Emperor Taizong of the great Tang dynasty was on the throne. The name of his reign was Cheng'en. He has been ruling for now 13 years, and the cynical name of the year, or the cyclic maybe, name of the year was Jisi. The whole land was at peace. People came bearing tributes from 8 directions, and the inhabitants of the whole world called themselves his subjects. One day, Taizong ascended his throne and assembled his civil and military officials. After they paid him homage, the Prime Minister Wenzheng left the ranks and came forward to memorialize to the throne, saying, "Since the world now is at peace and tranquility reigns everywhere, we should follow the ancient customs and establish sites for civil examination, so that we may invite worthy scholars to come here and select those talents who will best serve the work of administration and government." I didn't drink water for this. "Our worthy subject has voiced a sound principle in his memorial," said Taizong. He's therefore issued a summons to be proclaimed throughout the empire, and every prefecture, county, and town. Those who learn the Confucian classics, who could write with ease and literacy. That is a weird choice of words. And who had passed the 3 sessions of examinations, regardless of whether they were soldiers or peasants, be invited to go to Cheng'en and take the imperial examination. This summon reaches the place Haizhao, where it was seen by a certain man named Cheng'en with the courtesy name of Guanguri, who went straight home to talk to his mother, whose maiden name was Zhang. The court, he said, has sent a yellow summons declaring in these south provinces there will be an examination for the selection of the worthy and the talented. Your child wishes to try out at such an examination? For if I managed to acquire an appointment, or even half a post, I would become more of a credit to my parents, magnify our name and give my wife a title, benefit my son and bring glory to the house of R. Such is the aspiration of your son. I wish I could tell my mother plainly before I leave. My son, said she of the Zhang family, an educated person learns when he is young, but leaves when he is grown. You should indeed follow this maxim. But as you go to the examination, you must be careful on the way. When you have secured a post, come home quickly. So Guanguri gave instructions to his family page to pack his bags, took leave of his mother, and began his journey. When he reached Cheng'en, the examination site had just been opened, and he went straight in. He took the preliminary test, passed them, and went to the court examination. Within 3 sessions of administrative policy, he took first place, receiving the title Zhang Yuan, and a certificate of which was signed by the Tang Emperor by own hand. As was the custom, he was led through the streets on horseback for 3 days. The procession at one point passed by the house of Chief Minister Yan and Kaishan, who had a daughter named Wenjiao, nicknamed Mantanjiro, a hall of loveliness. She was not yet married, and at this time she was just about to throw down an embroidered ball from high upon a festoon in tower in order to select her spouse. It happened that Guanguri was passing below the tower. When the young maiden saw Guanguri's outstanding appearance, knew that he was the recent Zhang Yao of the examinations, she was very pleased. She threw down the embroidered ball, which just happened to hit the black gauze hat of Guanguri. Immediately, lively music of pipes and flutes could be heard throughout this area as scores of maids and servant girls ran down from the tower, took hold of the bridle of Guanguri's horse, and led him to the residence of the chief minister for the wedding. Help, you're being kidnapped! The chief minister and his wife at once came out of their chambers, called together the guests and master of ceremonies, and gave the girl to Guanguri as his bride. Please have concern for this situation. I get female rights weren't really much of a thing, but she threw a ball at you. You've never seen this woman. She could be awful. You have been kidnapped into marriage. Congratulations, sir. What is this scene? Does this happen often in Chinese literature? I don't know. Together they bow to heaven and earth, and then husband and wife bow to each other for bowing to the father and mother-in-law. The chief minister then gave a big banquet, and everyone feasted merrily for a whole evening, after which the two of them walked hand in hand to the bridal chamber. At the 5th watch early next morning, Tai Zong took his seat in the treasure hall of golden chimes as civil and military officials attended the court. Tai Zong asked, "What appointment should the new Zhang Yon receive?" The Prime Minister, Wei Zheng, said, "Your subject has discovered that within our territory there is a vacancy at Jingzhou. I beg my lord to grant him this post." Tai Zong at once made him governor of Jingzhou, ordered him to leave without delay. After thanking the emperor and leaving the court, Guanguri went back to the house of the chief minister to inform his wife. We had just been married to last night. Come on, what is this? I know you kidnapped me into this wedding, but now I'm gonna take your daughter to my new post that I got literally today. Peace. He took leave of his father and mother-in-law, and proceeded with his wife to the new post at Jingzhou. As they left Cheng'en and went on their journey, the season was late spring. A soft wind blew to green the willows. A fine rain spotted to redden the flowers. As his home was on the way, Gonguri returned to his house, where husband and wife bowed together to his mother, Lady Zhang. "Congratulations, my son," said she of the Zhang family. "You even came back with a wife. What has it been, a week? What the fuck is going on here?" "Your child," said Gonguri, "relied on the power of your blessing, was able to obtain the undeserved honor of Zhang Yon. By imperial command, I was making a tour of the streets, when as I passed by the mansion of Chief Minister Yen, I was hit by an embroidered ball. The Chief Minister kindly gave me daughter to your child to be his wife, and His Majesty appointed him governor of Jingzhou. I have returned to take you with me to the post." She of the Zhang family was delighted and packed at once for the journey. This is a weird bit. They had been on the road for a few days when they came to stay at the Inn of 10,000 Flowers, kept by a certain Louis Shower. That's shower with an X. Good reading, Doppel. We'll try to keep silent. You don't have to keep silent. But welcome to the stream. I welcome the chit-chat, don't you worry. She of the Zhang family soon became ill and said to Gonguri, I don't feel well at all. Let us rest here for a day or two before we journey again." Gonguri obeyed. Next morning there was a man outside the inn holding a golden carp for sale. When Gonguri bought for a string of coins, he was about to have it cooked for his mother when he saw the carp was blinking its eyes vigorously. In astonishment, Gonguri said, "I have heard that when a fish or snake blinks its eyes in this manner, it's a sure sign it's an unordinary creature." He therefore asked the fisherman, "Where did you catch this fish?" "I caught it," said the fisherman, "from the river Hong, for some 15 miles from this district." "And it's still alive? You're not very good at this." Accordingly, Gonguri sent the live fish back to the river and returned to the inn to tell his mother about it. "It's a good deed to release living creatures from captivity," said she of the Zhang family. "I am very pleased." "We have stayed in this inn now for 3 days," said Gonguri. "This imperial command is an urgent one. Your child intends to leave tomorrow, but he would like to know whether her mother has fully recovered." She of the Zhang family said, "I still am not well, and the heat on the journey at this time of year, I fear, will only add to my illness. Why don't you rent a house for me to stay in temporarily? Leave me allowance. The 2 of you can proceed to your new post. By autumn, when it's cool, you can come fetch me." Gonguri discussed the matter with his wife, and they duly rented a house for her and left some cash with her, after which they took leave and left. At this point, maybe it was best just to leave her back in your hometown. Sort of predict this kind of thing. Like, does your mother not... Had she never traveled before in summer? That's my only guess of how we ended up in this situation. I feel it would have been better to, like, do the whole autumn travel in the original house. Then you wouldn't have had to buy a new house right now. They felt the fatigue of traveling, journeying day by day and resting by night. They soon came to the crossing of the Hong River, where 2 boatmen, Li Hong and Li Bao, took them into their boat. It happened that Gonguri was destined in his previous incarnation to meet this calamity, and so had come upon his fated enemies of his. After ordering the houseboy to put the luggage in the boat, Gonguri and his wife were just about to embark when Li Hong noticed the beauty of Lady Yin, who had a face like a full moon, eyes like autumnal water, and a small cherry-like mouth and tiny willow-like waist. Why didn't you give this description when you introduced this person? It's a bit late to give descriptors on a character who has been traveling with us for a little bit now. I know it's still the same chapter, but when you introduce a character, that's when you describe them. Her features were striking enough to sink fishes and drop geese, and her complexion would cause the moon to hide and put flowers to shame. Why didn't you say all this when we met her? Right before she threw the ball at someone to kidnap them into a wedding. Stirred at once to cruelty, he plotted with Li Bao. Together they punted the boat to an isolated area and waited until the middle of the night. They killed the houseboy first, and they beat Gonguri to death, pushing both bodies into the water. Well, he's dead. Who are we supposed to be following? We've been following Gonguri for a bit in this chapter, and now he's dead. That sucks. When are we gonna get to Shenzong? When the lady saw that they had killed her husband, she made a dive for the water, but Li Hong threw his arms around her and caught her. "If you consent to my demand," he said, "everything will be all right. If you do not, this knife will cut you in 2. Unable to think any better of the plan, the lady gave her consent for the time being and yielded herself to Li Hong. The thief took the boat to the south bank and turned the boat over to the care of Li Bao. He himself put on the Gonguri's cap and robe, took his credentials, and proceeded with the lady to the post at Juanzhou. Oh, this could not be good. We should now tell you that the body of the houseboy killed by Li Hong drifted away with the current. The body of Cheng'en, however, sank to the bottom of the water and stayed there. A yaks on patrol at the mouth of the Hong River saw it and rushed to the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King was just holding court when the yaks entered to report, saying, "A scholar's been beaten to death at the mouth of the Hong River by some unknown person. His body is now laying at the bottom of the water." The Dragon King had the corpse brought in and laid before him. He took a careful look at it and said, "But this man was my benefactor. How could he have been murdered? As the common saying goes, kindness should be repaid with kindness. I must save his life so that I may repay the kindness of yesterday." Oh, okay, we're getting revival. Neat. He at once issued an official dispatch, sending the yaks to deliver it to the municipal deity and local spirit of Hangzhou, and asked for the soul of the scholar so that his life might be saved. The municipal God damn, this is a difficult word. And it's a modern word. Well, it's still used modernly. Municipal deity. And the local spirit in turn ordered the little demon to hand over the soul of Cheng'en to the yaks, who led the soul back to the Water Crystal Palace for an audience with the Dragon King. "Scholar," said the Dragon King, "what is your name? And where did you come from? Why did you come here, and for what reason were you beaten to death?" Gonguri saluted him and said, "This lowly student is named Cheng'en. My courtesy name is Gonguri. I am from the Hongnyong district of Haozai, or Haizhou, at the unworthy examination of the recent session of examination, adopted by the court to be governor of Jinzhou, and was going to post my wife. I took a boat at the river. I did not expect the boatman Li Hong to covet my wife and plot against me. He beat me to death and tossed out my body. I begged the great king to save me." Hearing these words, the Dragon King said, "So that's it. Good sir, the golden copy released earlier was myself. You are my benefactor. You may be in dire difficulty at the moment. There is any reason why I should not come to your assistance." He therefore laid the body of Gonguri to one side and put a preservation pearl in its mouth so that the body would not deteriorate but be reunited with the soul to avenge himself in the future. He also said, "Your true soul may remain temporarily in my water bureau as an officer." Gonguri kowtowed to thank him, and the Dragon King prepared a banquet to entertain him, but shall say no more about that. I've explained enough banquets in this fucking book already. And surely there are more to come. We now tell you that Lady Yin hated the bandit Liu so bitterly she wished she could devour his flesh and sleep on his skin. Graphic but understandable. But because she was with child and did not know whether it would be a boy or girl, she had no alternative but to yield reluctantly to her captor. In a little while they arrived at Xingyao. Wait, what does the gender of the unborn child have to do with not resorting to cannibalism? I'm very confused. The clerks and the lictors all came to meet them. All the subordinate officers gave a banquet for the governor's mansion. Okay, let's try that again. And all the subordinate officials gave a banquet for them at the governor's mansion. Liu Hong said, "I've come here. A student like me is utterly dependent on support and assistance of you gentlemen." "Your honor," replied the officials, "is first in the examinations and a major talent. You will, of course, regard your people as your children. Your public declarations will be as simple as your statements of litigation is fair. We subordinates are all dependent on your leadership, so why should you be unduly modest?" When the official banquet ended, and the people all left, time passed by swiftly. One day, Liu Hong went far away on official business, while Lady Yin at the mansion was thinking of her mother-in-law. I have been saying that word weirdly today. Mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law and her husband, and sighing in the garden pavilion. Suddenly was seized by tremendous fatigue and sharp pains in her belly. Falling unconscious to the ground, she gave birth to a son. Presently, she heard someone whispering in her ear, "Really? That sudden?" Jesus. Oops, it's out. Montengjiro, listen carefully to what I have to say. I am the star spirit of South Pole, who sends you this sun by express command of the Buddhistaffer Cheng'en. One day his name will be known far and wide, for he is not to be compared with an ordinary mortal. But when the bandit Liu returns, he will surely try to harm the child. You must take care to protect him. Your husband has been rescued by the Dragon King. In the future, both of you will meet again, as son and mother will be reunited, even as son and mother will be reunited. A day will come when the wrongs will be redressed and crimes punished. Remember my words. Wake up. Wake up. The voice ceased and departed. The lady woke up, remembered every word. She clasped her son tightly to her, but could devise no plan to protect him. Liu Hong then returned and wanted to have the child killed by drowning the moment he saw him. The lady said, "Today it's late already. Allow him to live till tomorrow, then have him thrown in the river." Fortunate that Liu Hong was called away by urgent business the next morning. The lady thought to herself, "This child is here when Bennett returns. His life is finished. I might as well abandon him now to the river, and let his life or death take its own course. Perhaps heaven, taking pity on him, will send someone to his rescue, and to have cared for him, that he may have a chance to meet again." She was afraid, however, the future recognition would be difficult, so she bit her finger and wrote a letter with blood, stating in detail the name of the parents, the family history, and the reason for the child's abandonment. She also bit off a little toe from the child's left foot to establish a mark of his identity. Taking one of her own inner garments, she wrapped the child, and took him out of the mansion when no one was watching. Fortunately, the mansion was not far from the river. Reaching the bank, the lady burst into tears and wailed long and hard. She was about to toss the child in the river, when she caught sight of a plank floating by the river bank. At once she prayed to heaven, after which she placed the child on the plank and tied him securely to it with some rope. She fastened the letter written in blood to his chest, and pushed the plank out into the water, and let it drift away. With tears in her eyes, the lady went back to the mansion, but we will say no more of that. Now we shall tell you about the boy on the plank, which floated with the current until it came to a standstill, just beneath the temple of Gold Mountain. The abbot of this temple was called Monk Faming. In cultivation of perfection and comprehension of truth, he had attained already the wondrous secret of birthlessness, and was sitting in meditation when all at once he heard an infant crying. Moved by this, he went quickly down to the river to have a look, and discovered the baby lying there on a plank at the edge of the water. The abbot quickly lifted him out of the water. When he read the letter in blood fastened to his chest, he learned of the child's origin. He then gave him the baby name River Float, and arranged for someone to nurse and care for him, while he himself kept the letter in blood safely hidden. Time passed like an arrow, the seasons like a river shuttle. River Float soon reached his 18th year. The abbot had his hair shaved and asked him to join the practice of Asusaries. Oh god, this is a difficult word. Asusaries, giving him the religious name Shenzang. Yep, there he is. Shenzang. Shenzang. It's X, so it's like Xuanzang. Having had his head touched and having received the commandments, Xuanzang pursued the way with great determination. One day in late spring, the various monks gathered in the shades of the pine trees were discussing the canons of Chan and debating the fine points of mysteries. One feckless monk, who happened to have been completely outwitted by Xuanzang's question, shouted angrily, "You damnable beast! You don't even know your own name, and you are arrogant of your own parents. Why are you still hanging around here playing tricks on people?" When Xuanzang heard such language of rebuke, he went to the temple and knelt before the master, saying with tears flowing from his eyes, "Though a human being born to this world receives his natural endowments from the forces of yin and yang, and the five faces, so he is always nurtured by his parents. How can there be a person in this world who has no father and mother? Repeatedly and piously he begged for the names of his parents. The abbot said, "If you truly wish to seek your parents, you must follow me to my cell." Xuanzang duly followed him to his cell, where from the top of a heavy crossbeam the abbot took down a small box. Opening the box, he took out a letter written in blood, and an inner garment, and gave them to Xuanzang. Only after he had unfolded the letter and read it, did Xuanzang learn the names of his parents, and understood in detail the wrongs that had been done them. That is some grammar. When Xuanzang finished reading, he fell weeping to the floor, saying, "How can anyone be worthy to bear the name of a man if he cannot avenge the wrongs done to his parents? For 18 years I have been arrogant of my true parents. Only this day have I learned I have a mother, and yet would I have reached this day if my master had not saved and cared for me. Permit your disciple to go seek my mother. Thereafter I will rebuild this temple with an incense bowl on my head, and repay the profound kindness of my teacher." "If you desire your mother," said the master, "you may take this letter in blood, and the inner garment with you. Go as some mendicant monk to the private quarters of the governor Cheng'en of Jianzhou. You will be able to meet your mother." Xuanzang followed the words of his master, and went to Jianzhou as a mendicant. That is a weird word. Mendicant monk. It happened that Li Hong was out on business, for heaven had planned that mother and child should meet. Xuanzang went straight to the door of the private quarters of the governor's mansion to beg for alms. Lady Yan, you see, had had a dream the night before in which she saw the waiting mood become full again, thought to herself, "I have no news from my mother-in-law. My husband was murdered by bandits, my son thrown into the river." Wait, no news from your mother-in-law? It's been 18 years. You left her in an unknown town. What the fuck? I guess we're skipping over things, but like, y'all should do things in between all this. Write a letter for help. If by chance someone rescued him and had him cared for, he might be 18 by now. Perhaps heaven wished us to be reunited today. Who can tell? As she was pondering the matter in her heart, she suddenly heard someone reciting the scriptures outside her residence and crying repeatedly, "Alms! Alms!" At a convenient moment, the lady slipped out and asked him, "Where did you come from?" "Your poor monk," said Xuanzang, "a disciple of Fei, an abbot of the temple of Gold Mountain." "So you are a disciple of the abbot of that temple?" She asked, and invited him into the mansion, and served him some vegetables and rice. Watching him closely, she noticed that in speech and manner bore a remarkable resemblance to her husband. The lady sent her maid away, and asked, "Young master, did you leave your family as a child when you grew up? What are your given names and surnames? Do you have any parents?" "Hi, Ina. Thanks for the hydrate and the stretch. Welcome to the stream. We are in a very weird chapter. Seemingly unfocused chapter." Anyways, welcome. "I did not leave my family when I was young," replied Xuanzang, "nor did I do so when I grew up. To tell the truth, I have a wrong to avenge great as the sky, and enmity deep as the sea. My father was a murder victim, and my mother was taken by force. My master, the Abbot Famine, told me to seek my mother in the governor's mansion of Cheng'en.
What is your mother's surname? Asked the lady. My mother's surname.
My mother's surname is Yin, said Cheng'en. Her given name is Wenjiao. Come on, we could have put an enter after asked the lady to indicate that someone knew who was talking.
My father's surname is Chen.
Or my father's name is... See, now it's here, but... confusing. My father's surname is Chen, and his given name is Gwenguri. My nickname is Riverflow, but my religious name is Songzang.
I am with Jiao, said the lady. But what proof have you of your identity?
When Songzang heard that she was his mother, he fell to his knees and wept most grievously. My own mother doesn't believe me, he said. You may see proof in the letter written in blood in this inner garment. When Jiao took them in her hands, once look told her they were the real thing. Mother and child embraced each other and wept. Lady Yin then cried, My son, leave at once. For 18 years I have not known my true parents, said Zhang Zhang. And I have seen my mother for the first time only this morning. How could your son bear so swift a separation?
My son, said the lady, leave at once, as if you were on fire. If that bandit Liu returns, he will surely take your life. I shall pretend to be ill tomorrow. Say that I will go to your temple and fulfill a vow I made in the previous year, to donate 100 pairs of monk shoes. At that time, I shall have more to say to you.
Zhang Zhang followed her bidding, and bowed to take leave of her. We were speaking of Lady Yin, who had been seen her son was filled with both anxiety and joy. The next day, under the pretext of being sick, she laid on her bed and would take neither tea nor rice. Louis Hong returned to the mansion and questioned her.
When I was young, said Lady Yin, I vowed to donate 100 pairs of monk shoes 5 days ago. Dreamed a monk demanded those shoes of me, holding a knife in his hand. From then on, I did not feel well.
Hi, Ophelia. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for the hydrate. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Such a small matter, Louis Hong, said Li Hong. Why didn't you tell me earlier?
He at once went up to the governor's hall and gave orders to his stewards, Wang and Li, that 100 families of the city were each to bring in a pair of monk shoes within 5 days. The families obeyed and completed their presentation.
Now that we have the shoes,
said Lady Yin to Liu Hong,
what kind of temple do we have nearby that I can fulfill my vows?
Liu Hong said,
There's a temple of Gold Mountain here in Zhenzhou, as well as the temple of the Bird Mountain. You may go to whichever one you choose.
Good evening. Don't forget to hydrate while reading, pretty boy. Aw, thanks.
I have long heard, said the lady, the temple of Gold Mountain is a very good one. I shall go there.
Liu Hong at once gave the order to his stewards, Wang and Li, to prepare a boat. Lady Yin took a trusted companion with her and boarded the boat. The boatman pulled it away from the shore and headed for the temple of Gold Mountain. We now tell you of Zhang Zhang's, who returned to the temple and told the Abbot Famine what had happened. The next day, a young housemaid arrived to announce that her mistress was coming to the temple to fulfill a vow she made. All the monks came out of the temple to receive her. The lady went straight inside to worship the Bodhisattva, to give a great vegetarian banquet. She ordered the housemaid to put the monk shoes and stockings in trays and have them brought to the main ceremonial hall. After the lady again worshipped with extreme devoutness, she asked the Abbot Famine to distribute the gifts to the various monks before they dispersed. When Zhang Zhang saw that all the monks had left, there was no one else in the hall. He drew near and knelt down. The lady asked him to remove his shoes and stockings. She saw there was indeed a small toe missing from his left foot. Once again the two of them embraced and wept. They all thanked the abbot for his kindness in fostering the youth. Famine said, I fear the present meeting of your mother and child may become known to that wily bandit. You must leave speedily, so you may avoid any harm.
My son, the lady said, let me give you an incense ring. Go to Hangzhou, about 1,500 miles northwest of here, where you will find the 10,000 Flowers Inn. Earlier we left an aged woman there, whose maiden name is Lang, and who is the true mother of your father. We left her there for 18 fucking years, apparently. Might as well just left her back in her hometown, because for fuck's sake. I have also written a letter for you to take to the capital of Tang Emperor. To the left of the Gold Palace, the house of your chief minister Yen, who is the true father of your mother. Give my letter to the maternal grandfather, and ask him to request the Tang Emperor to dispatch men and horses, have this bandit arrested and executed. Your father may be avenged. Only then will be able to rescue your old mother. I dare not linger now, for I fear that knave may be offended by my returning late.
She went out of the temple and boarded the boat and left. Cheng'en returned weeping to the temple, and told his master everything and bowed to take leave of him immediately, going straight to Hangzhou. 18 years, goddamn. Yeah, Cheng'en is 18 years old. Here is the wonky-ass timeline we have to work with. His father, being of age, I believe, roughly 16 to 18, he took an exam after leaving his mother's house. That was to become an official. He passed with flying colors. Because of that, they had a little 3-day parade for him. During said parade, an eligible bachelorette, I guess you could call her, is that the right word I'm using here? Was in search of a husband, I guess, and just threw an embroidered ball at his head. And then they kind of kidnapped him into a wedding with kindness. And literally the next day, they were sent out on this assignment. So, because he got this post here where she lives now, and they return to his hometown and meet his mother, say, hey, come with us. They go on their way with her. Partway through, she falls a bit ill because they're traveling a bit in summer. So they leave her. So after spending a few days at an inn, he rescues the Dragon King on accident. And when it's disguised as a golden fish that he bought, that he releases. And then heads on his way, leaving his mother in that town with a rental property and some money. But he's killed at a river crossing by someone who apparently hated him in a previous life and coveted his wife. How to speed up your whole life process. But she was already with child at this point. And he takes his place. But because he had saved the Dragon King, he got revived, but is still a minister in the Dragon King's court right now. And Cheng'en was born not too long afterwards, and was slipped away down the river Moses style, so that the bandit who took his father's place wouldn't kill him. And then 18-year time skip. He grew up in a monastery, a temple under Faming. And now we're here. And that's all happened this chapter. This is a weird book. Always has been. Cheng'en returned weeping to the temple, told his master everything, and bowed to take leave of him immediately. Went from baby to mature adult. Wow. Where is my character development? It's only chapter 9 of like 100+ chapter book. Might be exactly 100. It's a long one though. They're long ass chapters. Going straight to Hangzhou, he came to the 10,000 Flower Inns and addressed the innkeeper, Louis, his shower, and saying, in the previous year there was an honored guest here by the name of Chen, whose mother
remained at your inn. How is she now?
Originally,
said Louis Shower.
she stayed in my inn. Afterwards, she went blind, and for 3 or 4 years did not pay me any rent. She now lives in a dilapidated potter's kiln near the southern gate. Every day she goes begging on the streets. Once that honored guest had left, and gone for a long time. Even now there's no news of him whatsoever. Can't understand it.
Wow. Yeah, maybe you should have left your mother in your hometown, because that sucks. And Xiangzheng heard this. He went out at once to the dilapidated potter's kiln in the southern gate, and found his grandmother. The grandmother said, "Your voice sounds very much like my son, Chinganguri." "I'm not Chinganguri," said Shangzao, or Shangzang. I don't know how to say his name, I'm only guessing. It's Xuanzang, and it's Chinese. I am guessing at any of these pronunciations. But only his son, Lady Wenjiro, is my mother.
Why didn't your father and mother come back?"
asked the grandmother. My father was beaten to death by... Use your enter button! My father was beaten to death by bandits, said Shangzang, and one of them forced my mother to be his wife.
How did you know where to find me?
Could you write it? What, this book? I can put some spaces in between where people start where a different person starts talking. That's what I'm complaining about right now. Sure, there's some weird grammar choices. It's par for the course of these older books. But, like, the structure of paragraph separation and when people talk should be a constant to my knowledge. You just need to hit the enter key and then the tab key. There you go. Who transcribed this? Oh, well, everyone has a difficult name, let's be honest. X-A... Or, no, X-U-A... N... Z-A-N-G. They are our protagonist. It's Chinese, so, you know. Difficult. See, English doesn't use X that often, and when they do, it's not usually the first letter. Not to mention, Chinese has different pronunciations of certain consonants and vowels, of course. Most languages will, of course. But they use X very prominently as well, with it having a slightly different pronunciation. Not completely different, I don't think, but slightly. How'd you know where to find me? Think about how to pronounce Xiao from Genshin. See, but they have that spelling for Xiao, because Xiaoer is the innkeeper. Think of how to pronounce it, though. yeah, it sounds the same, doesn't it? Because that's how it looks like it's spelled. Because I know how to say Xiao from Genshin. So adding ER should make it shower. I was raised in the American school system. Don't do this to me.
Zhuanzhang? Maybe? Just forget the E. Zhao R. Man, Chinese is difficult. Like we do in French, forget a few letters. Yeah, but then you're gonna end up with, I can't stop thinking of that thing I saw where a guy has a name that's just like all silent letters. And they're like, how do we say your name? Also, you wouldn't have to forget a few letters if you stopped stuffing them in. I'm not blaming you, I'm blaming the people who inventing language. Quit putting excess vowels if you're just going to ignore them! Picture the guy as a shower bathtub head. Yes, the innkeeper. Shower bathtub head man. Nouvelette, shortened to Nouvelette. Why do you add these excess letters if you're not going to use them? You're depriving other languages of their letters. Look, the excess letters from the Americanized version of English had to go somewhere. Thank goodness Ina ain't here. Sorry I'm distracting you, but dang, your laughter's adorable. No, you're perfectly fine. I enjoy the chit-chat. Ina might be lurking, because it gave me a hydrate and stretch earlier. Shishi. Habit would be bomb the fringe. Cease. Let's use a scalpel to solve our problems instead of a sledgehammer. But we have so many hammers. Yeah, you see, Ophélie? I got people just all up in arms about burning down France, and it's mostly because of French language.
That's my boy. No, my boy!
Father, help!
Who told you to seek? Who told me to seek my grandmother?
Or... I skipped something. Okay.
What?
Okay. Man, this thing is determined to piss me off with this. They did it in the next paragraph, too. Okay, so... Not gonna lie, even when we have a word with W in French... Xylophone? With X, okay. I mean, xylophone's just the name of an instrument. But, as you can see, that X is a very different pronunciation from a Chinese X. Then again, at the same time, that Chinese X is technically just a romanized translation for an existing character. So it's not exactly like a one-to-one comparison. Romanized versions aren't always perfect whenever they come from other languages that use different characters for their things. So things get a bit muddy. I wonder why they chose X. That's probably like a historical linguistic question. But I wonder why they chose X. I like your funny historical facts, funny kimono fishman. Anyways, this book seems determined to piss me off with basic paragraph structure. I'm going to copy and paste exactly how this looks. That is two people talking. That is not how two people should talk. No, instead, it should be like, oh, well, Twitch is not a great place for this, apparently. Okay, I'm just gonna, you should have the separation. I think I complained about this last time, too. You should have that separation of paragraph structure because someone new started talking. Once again, I know this was translated from Chinese, but whoever transcribed this, I'm going to punch you. I'm pretty damn sure I was complaining about this last time we read this. Shouldn't the answer's name at the end of the dialogue? It's not always required. The heck, it's an incense ring. I don't know. I'm assuming it's like a ring that has incense burner in it or something. Like something that could open up and put incense in it. That's my assumption of what it is. But also, as for being at the end of the dialogue, sometimes stuff like that can be in the middle of the dialogue. Especially when it's in a reply. It can all be at the end, but sometimes that looks awkward. When I hear or see incense, I think of burning scent sticks. I mean, that is a very common thing for it. Pretty sure incense... Do incense include oil? I don't think incense includes oils. I think oils is a separate category. I think incense is all herbal and as such. That's not incense, but incense. I don't know what burning scent sticks sounds like incense, because that is a very common way they are used. I mean, you could say that for for candles too. But incense can also come in like a powder form. I know that. But that's still like a herbal base or something. It's a French word for it. I don't know the name of it in English. In English, it's INCENSE. So the spelling that's displayed there, that's the English word for it. Anyways, hopefully we won't tear up the grammar too much more here. How did you know where to find me? Asked the grandmother. It was my mother, answered Cheng'en and Zhang, who told me to seek my grandmother. There's a letter from my mother here. There's also an incense ring. The grandmother took the letter and the incense ring and wept without restraint. For merit and reputation, she said, my son came to this. I thought he had turned his back on righteousness and forgotten parental kindness. How could I have known that he was murdered? Fortunately, heaven remembered me in this pity.
at least in pity. This day, a grandson has come to seek me out.
Grandmother, said Cheng'en, how did you go blind?
"'Cause I thought so often about your father," said grandmother. "I waited for him daily, but he did not return. I wept until I was blind in both eyes."
That's not how blindness works, but okay.
Xuanzang knelt down and prayed to heaven, saying, "Have regard of Cheng'en, who at the age of 18 has not yet avenged the wrong done to his parents. With the command of my mother, I came to this day to find my grandmother. If heaven would take pity on my sincerity, grant that the eyes of my mother regain their sight." When he finished his petition, he licked the eyes of his grandmother with the tip of his tongue.
Please don't! What the fuck? Oh. Oh. Oh, these ancient customs. Why? Ew.
In a moment both eyes were licked open. They were as of old.
Okay, but never do that again.
When the grandmother saw the youthful monk, she said, "You're indeed my grandson. Why, you're just like my son, Gonguri." She felt both happy and sad, and there was spit in her eyes. Xuanzang led his grandmother out of the kiln and went back to Liu Xiao's inn, where he rented a room for her to stay. He also gave her some money, saying, "In a little more than a month's time, I'll be back." Taking leave of his grandmother, he went straight to the capital and found his way to the house of the chief minister, Yin, on the eastern street in the imperial city. He said to the porter,
Grandma, if you have a sight problem, let me taste and lick it off. Don't worry, I'll heal you. Hold on, I gotta... I gotta post this. What the fuck? I'm sorry, I can't get over this. People need to know that this happened. Alright, onward.
He said to the porter, "This little monk is a kilnsman who has come to visit the chief minister." The porter made the report to the chief minister, who replied, "I'm not related to any monk." But his wife said, "I dreamed last night that my daughter, Tinjiro, came home. Could it be that our son-in-law sent us a letter?" The chief minister therefore had the little monk shown to the living room. When he saw the chief minister and his wife, he fell weeping to the floor. Taking a letter from within the folds of his robe, he handed it to the chief minister. The chief minister opened it and read it from beginning to end, and wept without restraint. "Your Excellency!" "What is the matter?" asked his wife. "This monk."
Once again, please use enter. The enter key is your friend.
Said the chief minister,
"Is our grandson. Our son-in-law, Cheng'en, was murdered by bandits, and Montajiro was made the wife of a murderer by force."
When the wife heard this, she too wept inconsolably.
Let our lady restrain her grief, said the chief minister. Tomorrow morning I shall present a memorial to our lord. I shall lead the troops myself to avenge our son-in-law.
The next day the chief minister went to court to present his memorial to the Tang Emperor, which read,
The son-in-law of your subject, Zhang Cheng'en was proceeding to his post at Changzhou with members of his family. He was beaten to death by the boatman Li Hong, and who took our daughter by force to be his wife. He pretended to be our son-in-law of your subject, and usurped his post for many years. Indeed, shocking and tragic incident. I beg your majesty to dispatch horses and men at once to exterminate the bandits.
The Tang Emperor saw the memorial and became exceedingly angry. He immediately called upon 60,000 imperial soldiers and ordered the chief minister Yin to lead them forth. The chief minister took the decree and left the court to make the roll call for troops at the barrack. 60,000? For one guy? Dude's fucked. Dude is not the Monkey King. He is fucked. They proceeded immediately towards Zhangzhou. Journeying by day and resting by night, and they soon reached the place. Horses and men pitched camp. Why is that so hard to say? Horses and men pitched camps on the north shore, and that very night the chief minister summoned, with golden tablets, the subprefect and county judge of Chengzhou to his camp. He explained to the two the reason for his expedition, and asked for military assistance. They then crossed over, for the sky with light had the mansion of Liu Hong completely surrounded. Liu Hong was still in dreams when at the shot of a single cannon and unanimous roll of drum, the soldiers broke into the private quarters of the mansion. Liu Hong was seized before he could offer any resistance. The chief minister had him and the rest of the prisoners bound and taken to the field of execution. What do you mean the rest of the prisoners? Who else was with this guy? While the rest of the soldiers pitched camp outside the city. Taking a seat in the great hall of the mansion, the chief minister invited the lady to come out to meet him. She was about to do so, but was overcome by shame at seeing her father again, wanted to hang herself right there. Zhang learned of this, and rushed and decided to save his mother. Falling to his knees, he said to her, Your son and his grandfather has led the troop to avenge father. The bandits have already been captured. Why does mother want to die now? Mother were dead, how could your son possibly remain alive? The chief minister went inside to offer his consolation. I have heard, said the lady, that a woman follows her spouse to the grave. My husband was murdered by bandits, and causing me dreadful grief. Okay, this is an unnecessary use of an enter in this. That's annoying. How could I yield so shamefully to the thief? The child I was carrying, that was my sole lease on life, that helped me bear my humiliation. Now my son is grown, my old father has led truth to avenge my wrong. I am the daughter whose little face left for my reunion, can only die to repay my husband.
My child, said the chief minister, you did not alter your virtue according to your prosperity or adversity. You had no choice. How can this be regarded as shame?
Father and daughter embraced, weeping. Zhengzhou also could not contain his emotion. Wiping away his tears, the chief minister said,
The two of you must sorrow no more. I have already captured the culprit. I must now dispose of him.
He got up and went to the execution site. It happened that the sub-prefect of Cheng'en had also apprehended the pirate Li Bao, who was brought by sentinels to the same place. Highly pleased, the chief minister ordered Liu Hong and Li Bao to be flogged 100 times with long canes. Each signed an avidient giving a thorough account of the murder of Cheng'en. Li Bao was nailed to a wooden ass, and after that was pushed to the marketplace. He was cut to pieces and his head exposed in a pole for all to see. Liu Hong was taken to the crossing of the Hong River, the exact spot he has beaten Cheng'en to death.
the chief minister, the lady, and Shengzang, or, yeah, Shengzang all went to the bank of the river. As libations, they offered the heart and liver of Lei Hong, who had been gored out from him live. Finally, an essay inculcating the deceased was burned. Facing the river, the three persons wept without restraint, their sobs heard down below in the water region. A yaksha, patrolling the waters, brought the essay in its spirit form to the Dragon King, who read it and at once sent a turtle marshal to fetch Ganguri. "Sir," said the king, "congratulations, congratulations. At this moment your wife, your son, your father-in-law are offering sacrifices to you at the bank of the river. I'm now letting your soul go so you may return to life. We're also presenting you with the pearl of wish fulfillment, 2 rolling pan pearls." What? Rolling pan pearls? The fuck are those? 10 bells of mermaid silk, and a jade belt with lustrous pearls. Today you will enjoy the reunion of husband and wife, mother and son. After Ganguri had given thanks repeatedly, the Dragon King ordered a yaksha to escort his body to the mouth of the river, and there to return his soul. The yaksha followed the order and left. We tell you now that Lady Yin, who had wept for some time for her husband, would have killed herself again by plunging into the water if Shengzang had not desperately held on to her. They were struggling pitifully when they saw a dead body floating towards the river bank. The lady hurried forward and looked at it. Recognizing it as her husband's body, she burst into louder wailing. As the other people gathered round to look, they suddenly saw Ganguri unclasping his fists and stretching his legs. The entire body began to stir. In a moment, he clambered up to the bank and sat down, to the infinite amazement of everyone. Ganguri opened his eyes and saw Lady Yin, the chief minister Yin, his father-in-law, and a youthful monk, all weeping around him. "Why are you all here?" said Ganguri. "It all began," said Lady Yin, "when you were beaten to death by bandits. Afterward, your unworthy wife gave birth to this son, who was fortunate enough to have been brought up by the abbot of the Golden Mountain Temple. The abbot sent him to meet me, and I told him to go seek his maternal grandfather. When father heard this, he made it known to the court and led troops here to arrest the bandits." Just now, we took out the culprit's liver and heart, live, to offer you as libations. But I would like to know how my husband's soul is able to return to give him life." Ganguri said, "That's all on account of our buying the golden carp. When you and I were staying at the Inn of 10,000 Flowers, I released that carp, not knowing there was none other than the Dragon King of this palace. When the bandits pushed me into the river afterwards, he was the one who came to my rescue. Just now, he was also the one who gave me back my soul, as well as many precious gifts, which I have here with me. I never even knew you had given birth to this boy. I am grateful that my father-in-law avenged me. Indeed, bitterness is past, and sweetness is come. What an unsurpassable joy!" When the various officials heard about this, they all came to tender her the congratulations. The chief minister ordered a great banquet to thank his subordinates, after which the troops and horses of the very same day began their march homeward. When they came to the Inn of 10,000 Flowers, the chief minister gave order to pitch camp. Ganguri went with Shengzang to the Inn of Liu to seek grandmother, who had happened to have dreamed the night before that a withered tree had blossomed. Magpies behind her house were chattering incessantly as well. She thought to herself, "Could it be that my grandson is coming?" Before she had finished talking to herself, father and son arrived together. The youthful monk pointed to her and said, "Isn't this my grandmother?" When Ganguri saw his aged mother, he bowed in haste. Mother and son embraced and wept without restraint for a while. After recounting to each other what had happened, they paid the innkeeper his bill and set out again for the capital. When they reached the chief minister's residence, Ganguri, his wife, and his mother all went to greet the chief minister's wife, who was overjoyed.
She ordered her servants to prepare a huge banquet to celebrate the occasion. Chief Minister said, "This banquet today may be named the Festival of Reunion, for truly our whole family is rejoicing." Early the next morning, the Tang Emperor held court, during which time the Chief Minister Yen left the ranks to give us careful report of what had taken place. He also recommended that a town like Unguri be used in some important capacity. The Tang Emperor approved the memorial and ordered that Cheng'en be promoted to sub-chancellor of the Grand Secretariat, so that he could accompany the court and carry out its policies. Cheng'en, determined to follow the way of Zen, was sent to practice austerities at the Temple of Infinite Blessings. Some time after this, Lady Yin calmly committed suicide after all, and Cheng'en went back to the Golden Mountain Temple to repay the kindness of Abbot Flaming, but do not know how things went thereafter. Let us listen to the explanation in the next chapter.
What the fuck, lady? Man, Lady Yin was desperate to get out of the story. Oof. That was weird. Okay, I wonder when we'll get to the journey. 'Cause, that was a lot. That was a lot. Okay, Chapter 10. The old Dragon King's foolish schemes transgress heaven's decree. Prime Minister Wei's letters seek help from an official of the dead. For the time being, we'll make no mention of Gonguri serving in his post and Zheng's practicing austerities. We tell you now about two worthies who lived on the banks of the river Cheng'en, outside the city of Cheng'en. A fisherman by the name of Zhang Shao, and a woodman by the name Li Ding. Who are these people? The two of them were scholars, one who had passed no official examination, mountain folks who knew how to read. One day, in the city of Cheng'en, after they had sold the wood on one's back and the carpet in the other's basket, they went to the small inn and drank until they were slightly tipsy. Each carrying a bottle, they followed the bank of Jing River and walked slowly back. "Brother Li," said Zheng Zhao, "in my opinion, those who strive for fame will lose their lives on account of fame. Those who live in quest of fortune will perish because of riches. Those who have titles sleep embracing a tiger, and those who receive official favors walk with snakes in their sleeves. When you think of it, their lives cannot compare with our carefree existence. Close to the blue mountains of fair waters, we cherish poverty and pass our days without having to quarrel with fate." "Brother Zhang," said Li Ding, "that's a great deal of truth in what you say. Your fair waters cannot match my blue mountains." "On the contrary," said Zhang Shao, "your blue mountains cannot match my fair waters, in testimony of which I offer a lyric to the tune of Butterflies Enamored of Flowers, that says: "In a small boat on 10,000 miles of misty rivers, I lean in the silent single sail, circled by the sounds of mermaid fish. My mountain cleansed, my care purged here, lacking well for fame. Leisurely I pick stems of brushwood and reeds, counting the seagulls as a pleasure to be told. As willowed banks and reeded bay, my wife and son join my joyous laughter. I sleep most soundly at wind and wave recede. No shame, no glory, nor any misery." Li Ding said, "Your fair waters are not as good as my blue mountains. I have testimony of a lyric poem to the tune of Butterflies Enamored of Flower that says: "At a dense forest pines in seated corner, I hear word the orno, a deaf tongue a tuneful pipe.
Pale reeds and bright green announce the warmth of spring. Summer comes abruptly, so passes time. The autumn arrives, for it is an easy change, with fragrant golden flowers, most worthy of our joy. And cold winters descend, and swift as fingers snap, ruled by no one, I free in all four climes. The fisherman said, Your blue mountains are no match, not as good as my fair waters, which offers me some fine things to enjoy. As testimony, I have here a lyric to the tune of the Partridge Sky. Partridge Sky, maybe?
What is this? What is going on here? I feel like this book keeps completely losing the plot.
The fairyland, cloud and water do suffice. Both adrift are incumbent. This is my home. I split fish his lives and cook green turtles. I steam purple crabs and boil red shrimps. Green rich shoots, water plants sprouts, butter steal the chicken's heads. The water calotropes, lotus roots old and young, the tender celery leaves. Arrowheads, white calotropes, and anorine flowers.
The woodsman said,
Your fair waters are not as good as my blue mountains, which offer me some fine things to enjoy. As testimony, I too have a lyric to the tune of the Partridge Sky. On tall craggy peaks that touch heaven's edge, a grass house, a straw hut, would make up my home. Cured fowls, smoked geese, surpass turtles or crabs, hare, antelopes, and deer be as fishes or shrimps. The cinchon leaves, the yellow linden sprouts, bamboo shoots and mountain tea are even better. Purple plums and red peaches, prunes and apricot ripe, sweet pears and sour dates, and cassia flowers.
Is this whole thing just gonna be like a poem off? What is going on here?
The fisherman said, Your blue mountains are surely not as good as my fair waters. I have another lyric here to the tune of the heavenly immortal. One leaf-like skiff goes where I choose to stay. I fear no 10,000 floods or wave or mist. I draw pokes and cast nets to catch fresh fish. With no sauce or fat, it's tasty or yet. Old wife and young son compete my home. Where fishes are plenty, I leave for Cheng'en's mats, and barter them for wine I drink till drunk. A courier coat surround me, on autumn's stin I lie, snoring asleep, no fret or care. I love not the glory or the pomp of man. The woodsman said, Your fair waters are still not as good as my blue mountains. I too have a poem to the tune of the heavenly immortal.
Are you guys just gonna continue your dick measuring contest? Can we get on with the story? No wonder this book is so long. We get distracted very easily.
The few straw houses built up beneath that heater, pine orchids, plums, bamboo, lovable all, passing groves, climbing mountains, I seek the right woods, with none to child. I sell as I wish. How much, how little, depends on my yield. I use the cash to buy wine as I please. Earthen crocks, clay flagons, both put me at ease. Salting with wine in the pine shade I lie. No anxious thoughts, no grain or loss. No care for the words failure, so success.
The fisherman said,
Brother Lee, Your mountainous life is not pleasing as my livelihood on the waters. As testimony, I have lyrics to the tune of Moon Over West River. Man, these guys are drunk. What the fuck is going on? Cease! Reds, Matwa, weeds that thick blossom glowing in mountain light. Yellow rush, as leaves tussle wild, wind shaken. The blue sky clean and distant and empty two rivers. Drawing my line, I stir at deep pools of stars. In rank and file, big fishes enter the net. Teams of tiny perches swallow the hooks. Their taste is special when caught and cooked. My laughter presides over rivers and lakes.
Dang, I remember the monk having huge tracts of land. We're not even on them anymore. We apparently got distracted by whoever the fuck these guys are. Like, the entire last chapter was like origin stories of how they came into being. But like, who the fuck are these guys? Also, hi Big, hi Mr. Mustache. I miss those tracts of land. I'm taking a break from Fate for at least one day. And these guys are having a poetry off, apparently. Sup, I'm fucking dead right now. You missed whenever somebody got their eyesight restored by having their eyelids licked. That was weird. Apparently, Jesus Christ, this is some weird shit.
The woodsman said, Brother Yali, your lives on the waters is not as pleasing as my livelihood in the mountains. As testimony, I also have a lyric to the tune of Moon Over West River.
These guys are drunk, by the way. Just a little drunk, but they're drunk. Just context for what you're walking into. They've been having this poetry off about which one has the better simple lifestyle here. Or more simple, natural lifestyle. Give me some Jack Daniels and I can play one of them.
Dead leaves, perch, creeper, croak, choking the road. Snap the poles, aged bamboo, clouding the hill. Dry tendrils and sedges in the disheveled growth. I break and take my ropes tossed alone. Willow trunks hollowed by insects, pine branches clipped off by wind. I gather and stockpile, ready for winter's cold. Chance them for wine or cash as I wish.
Is this one where the monk has a black hole in his palm? What do you mean a black hole in their palm? You mean the whole thing with the Buddha and the Monkey King showdown? Where the Buddha was infinite and then the Monkey King kind of pissed on his hand? People leave that part out. People leave that part out of the retelling.
The fisherman said, Though your life is in the mountains is not bad, it is still not as charming, as grateful as mine is on the fair waters. As testimony, I have lyrics to the tune of Immortal by the River. Falling tides move my one boat away. I rest my oars, my song comes with the night. The quiet coat, the waning moon, how charming they are. No seagulls dart up from fright. As rosy clouds spread throughout the sky, I sleep without care of receded isles, still snoozing when the sun is high. I work after my own plans and desires, vassals in cold night, tending court. Could there match my pleasure and peace?
Ain't screaming to fuck every hole within 10 miles, so most likely not. Also had a demon hunter with a boomerang. I don't know what you're referencing. You guys are clearly referencing something exact. Inuyasha. Gotcha. Okay, okay. I never really got into Inuyasha. The woodsman said, oh god, they keep going. The charm and grace of your far waters cannot be compared to those of my blue mountains. I, too, have a testimony to the tune of Immortal by River. What is the point of this chapter? I walk autumn's frosty paths, dragged my axe. In night's cool I pull back my law, stranger still with temples stuck with flower. Sternly I push clouds to find my way out. Moonstruck I call open my gate. Rustic life and young sun greet with smiles. On the straw bed and wooden pillow I lie. Steamed pears and cooked millet are soon prepared. The urn burns newly mulled will add to my secret joys. I only have casual understanding of the show is more of my girlfriend's thing. How dare you not watch Inuyasha, the fangirls will destroy you. I tried it, it just didn't really capture me. It was okay, but like, it just didn't really capture me. Oh my god, they keep going. The fisherman said, all these things in our poems have to do with our livelihoods, the occupations which we support ourselves. But your life is not as good as those leisurely moments of mine, for which I have a testimony a regulated poem. Sum it up as Dragon Ball Z for your sister. I think the closest thing I got to like Inuyasha in enjoyment, like of that similar vein, was Rurouni Kenshin and Rama 1/2, and I can't remember the name of it. It's the one where all the yokai are actually aliens from space. Lum's the main female character. Can't remember its name ever, but it's a cute series. This is close I got to it. Oddly enough, it was showing, but girls love it. Yeah. I can see why they do, though. It has those vibes. Where's the Joshi? Yeah, that one topless girl who was up for a page before being killed. Jesus. Idly I watch the blue skies, white cranes fly. My boat stops steam sigh, my doors half closed. By the sail my son's taught to knot fishing threads. Rowing stops, I join my wife to dry the nets. My mind is still, as I know the water's calm. Myself secure, hence I feel the wind is light. I fairly don my green crier and bamboo hat that beats wearing a row with a purple sash. Don't understand, my manga has deaf and titties in it. Why am most of my readers high school girls? Don't worry about it, just keep going. You're being successful. The woodsman said, your leisurely moments are not as good as mine, for which I also have a relegated poem as a testimony. I feel like the woodsman's just like, he didn't have any of this prepared, but he's really good at improvising it. And that's why he always has to like reflect the same poetry scheme as the fisherman. That's my headcanon for what's going on right now. Sounds more like China had more innuendos back than most people want to admit. Yeah, innuendo's been the thing since language, let's be honest. Idly I watch what billows of white clouds fly, or sit in my thatched hut, close bamboo gates. I open leisurely books to teach my son. At times I face guests to play circling chess. My crane stalls with my song through furrow paths. Aroused I climb green mountains, lute in hand. Straw sandals, hemp sash, and coarse cloth quilts. All beat silk garments when your heart is free. You don't want to know how much dick graffiti Rome has? I wouldn't be surprised, I'll be honest. Okay, let me give you a moment. What is your two's contribution to this fucking story? Why are we doing this? Who are you? Why are we doing a fucking poetry off? A drunk poetry off at that. What do you two contribute? Heard of Chekhov's guns, Chekhov's continent. I get every other thing that has happened. Weird as it is, it's been setting up the characters that I know are in the story. Including the 3 companions. But this, so far, has not included anyone I know of. We're just gonna come back near the end of the story. They're still gonna be under this fucking dick measuring contest of poems, just drunkly wandering around and whatever nonsense is going on.
Then Shao said, "Lead on, Ying. The 2 of us indeed are. Lucky to have light songs to amuse us. We don't need castanets or flask of gold. But the poems we have recited thus far are occasional pieces, hardly anything unusual. Why don't we attempt a long poem in a linking verse manner, and see how it fares?" "The conversation between the fisherman and the woodsman," Ling Ding said. "That's a marvelous proposal, Brother Thang. Please begin."
Oh, now they're working together on a poem. While drunk. And I can't tell who's talking, so I'm just gonna assume that it's the first one.
"My boat rests on the water, green waters mist and wave.
Oh, okay, I'll just use the context of the statement.
My home deep in the mountains and open plains. I love the steeds and bridges of springtide swells, care for ridges veiled by clouds of dawn. My fresh carp from longmans are often cooked, my dried woods worn rotted are daily burnt. Nets of many kinds to support my edge, both poles and rope will see me to the end. I lie in a skiff and watch wild geese fly, I sprawl on grassy paths when wild swans cry. I have no stake in the fields of mash of tongue, though the seas of scandal I'll not make my way. Hung dry by the steam, my net likes brocade, polished new on rocks, my axe shows a fine blade. Jesse James.
Meow, that's a name.
Beneath autumn's moon I ought fish alone, and spring hills are quiet, I meet no one. Fish or chains for wine for me and wife to drink, firewood is used to buy a bottle for my son. I sing freely and pour my heart's desire, in song and sighs there's none to restrain me. I call fellow boatmen to come as brothers, with friends we join the codgers of the wilds. We make rules, play games, and exchange the cups. We break words, remake them, and when we pass the mugs.
No, Justin James don't want to be in this story. We all saw what happened to Rabbit Gangster in the OG Dragon Ball.
Cooked shrimps, boiled crabs are my daily feast. I daily fed by smoked fowl and fried ducks. My unlettered wife makes tea languidly. My mountainous wife cooks rice more leisurely. When dawn comes, I lift my staff to stir the waves. At sunrise, I pull my wood to cross big roads. I dunk or crot after rain to catch live carp. Wind blows, I wield my axe to cut dried pines. Hiding tracks to flee the world, I'm like a fool, bloated name and surname, I play deaf and dumb. Zheng Xiao said, Brother Li, just now I presume to take the lead, and begin with the first line of the poem. Why don't you begin? Or, Brother Li, just now I presume to take the lead, and begin with the first line of the poem. Why don't you begin this time? I shall follow. a rustic who foreigns to be romantic. An oldie, taking pride in streams and lakes. My lot is leisure, I seek laxity and ease. Stunning talk and gossip, I love my peace. In moonlit nights I sleep in safe store huts. When skies dim, I drape with like coral cape. I befriend with arbors both pines and plums. I please to mingle with arrogant and gulls. My mind has no plans for fortune or fame. My ears are deaf to the din of spear and drum. At any time I pour my fragrant wine. My tasty meals are soups of leafy greens. My living rests on 2 bundles of wood. My trade is my pulpit with hooks and lines. I call a young son to sharpen my axe. I tell my small lord he should mend our nets. Spring comes, I love to watch the willows green. Warm days gladden to the sights of Russian leaves. To flee the summer's heat, I plant new bamboos. I pick young lotus to cool myself in June. When frost descends, the fattened fowls are slayed by double nay. I cook the raw fill crab. I sleep deep in winter, though sun is high. When the sky is tall and hazy, I'm not fry. Throughout the year I roam free in the hills. In all 4 climes I see the lakes at will. Gathering wood I only immortals feel. Dropping my rod I sport no worldly form. My adored wild blossoms are fragrant and blithe. My stem green waters flows calmly and serene. Content I seek not, the 3 dukes seeks. Like 10 miles city, my nature's firm. City, though tall, must resist a seed. Dukes through high rank must summon heed. Delight in hills and stems in red, and truly rare. Think heaven, think earth, let's think the gods. The 2 of them thus recited poems and songs, composed linking verses, arriving at the place where their ways parted. They bowed to take leave of each other. Elder brother Li, said Zheng Shou. Take care as you go on your way. When you climb the mountains, be wary of the tiger. If you're harmed, I'd find, as the saying goes, 1 friend missing on the street tomorrow. When Li Dang heard these words, he grew very angry, saying, What scoundrel you are! Good friends would even die for each other. You, what do you say such unlucky things to me? Find to be harmed by a tiger, your boat will surely capsize in the river. I'll never capsize my boat in the river. Zheng Shou. Li Dang said, As there are unexpected storms in the sky, so is there sudden weals and woes with man.
I think I'm playing too much Elden Ring because just hearing the term gods has put me out of an overly sized sword, and y'all come at me, bro, fall by like 200 dodge rolls.
Now, we dodge roll home.
Honey, did you see tumbleweeds pass by?
Don't pay them any mind, they're drunk.
Elder brother Li, said Zheng Shou. You said this because you have no idea what may befall you in your business. Whereas I can predict what happens in my kind of business, and I assure you that I will not have any accidents. That kind of living you pick up on the waters, said Li Ding, is an extremely treacherous business. You have to take chances all the time. How can you be so certain of your future? Here, something you don't know about, said Zheng Shou. In this city of Cheng'en, there's a fortune teller who piles his trade on the Westgate Street. Every day, I give him a golden carp as a present. He consults the sticks in his sleeve for me. I follow his instructions. When I lower my nets, I've never missed it 100 times. Today, I went again to buy his prediction. He told me to set my nets at the east bend of the Cheng'en River and cast my line from the west bank. I know I'll come back with a fine catch of fish and shrimps. When I go up to the city tomorrow, I'll sell my catch, buy some wine, and I'll get together with you again, old brother.
The 2 men parted. There is, however, a proverb. What is said on the road is heard in the grass. For you see, it happened that a yaksha on patrol in the Cheng'en River overheard the part of the conversation about not having missed 100 times. He dashed back to the Water Crystal Palace, hastily reported to the Dragon King, shouting, "Disaster! Disaster!" "What sort of disaster?" asked the Dragon King. Oh, we're finally getting to something someone we knew. Okay, good. We are back and focused. But give it 10 minutes. "Your subject," said the Yaksha, "was patrolling the river and overheard a conversation between a woodsman and a fisherman. Before they parted, they said something terrible. According to a fisherman, there is a fortune teller on the West Gate Street, in the city of Cheng'en, who would the most accurate in his calculations. Every day, the fisherman gives him a carp and then consults the stick in his sleeves. With the result, the fisherman has not missed once in 100 times when he casts his line. If such accurate calculations continue, will not all water kin be exterminated? Where will you find any more inhabitants for the watery reason who will toss and leap in the waves to enhance the majesty of great king?" The Dragon King became so angry that he wanted to take the sword and go up at once to Cheng'en to slay the fortune teller. But his dragon sons and grandsons, the shrimp and the crab ministers, and the salmi counselor, the perch sub-director of the minor court, and the carp president of the board's civil affairs, and I feel like this paragraph is just to make jokes about fish having officerial positions, all came from the side and said to him, "Let the great king restrain his anger. The prophet says, don't believe everything you hear. If the great king goes forth like this, the clouds will accompany you, and rains will follow. We fear that the people of Cheng'en will be terrified, and heaven will be offended. Since the great king has the power to appear or disappear, sudden and to transform into many shapes, let him change to a scholar. Then go to the city of Cheng'en and investigate the matter. If there is indeed such a person, you can slay him without delay. But there is no such person, so you need no need to harm innocent people." The Dragon King accepted their suggestion. He abandoned his sword and dismissed the clouds and rain. Reaching the river bank, he shook his body and changed to a white-robed scholar, truly with features most virile, a stature towering, a stride most stately, so orderly and firm. His speech exalts Kong and Ming, his manner involves Zhao and Wen. He wears a silk robe of the colors of jade, and casually head wraps, shaped like the letter 1. Coming out of the water, the Dragon King strode to the West Gate Street, in the city of Cheng'en. There he found a noisy crowd surrounding someone who was saying in lofty and self-assured manner, "Those born under the dragon will follow their fate. Those under the tiger will collide with their psychogeometries. The branch yin, chen, si, and hai may be said to fit the grand scheme, but I fear your birthday may clash with the planet Jupiter." When the Dragon King heard this, he knew he had come to the fortune teller's place. Walking up to it and pushing the people apart, he peered inside, to see 4 walls of exquisite writing, a room full of brocade paintings, smoke unending from the treasure's duct, such pure water in a porcelain vase. On both sides are mounted Wang Zui paintings. High above his seat hangs the Guingui, or the Gui Gun form, an ink slab from Duanji, the golden smoke ink. Both match the great brush of the frostiest hair, the crystal balls, Guapo's members, neatly faced new classics of soothsaying. He knows the hexagrams well. He masters the 8 trigrams, perceives the laws of heaven and earth, discerns the ways of demons and gods. One tray before him fixes the cosmic hours. His mind clearly orders all planets and stars. Truly those things to come, and those things past, he beholds as in a mirror, which house will rise and which will fall. He foresees like a god. He knows evil and decrees the good. He prescribes death and predicts life. His pronouncements quicken the wind and rain. His brush alarms both spirits and gods. His shop sign has letters to declare his name. This divine diviner, Yuan Shuhuang, or Xuanqin, Xuan Heng. Who was this man? For he was truly the uncle of Yuan and Teng Kang, president of the Imperial Board of Astronomy in the present-day dynasty. The gentleman was truly a man of extraordinary appearance and elegant features. His name was known throughout the great country, and his art
was considered the highest in Cheng'en. The Dragon King went inside the door and met the master. After exchanging greetings, he was invited to take a seat of honor while the boy served him tea. The master asked, "What would you like to know?" The Dragon King said, "Please, forecast the weather." The master consulted the sticks and made his judgment. Clouds hide in the hilltops, and a fog shrouds the trees. The rain you divine, tomorrow you'll see. "At what hour will it rain tomorrow, and how much rain will there be?" asked the Dragon King. "At the hour of the dragon the clouds will gather," said the master, "and thunder will be heard at the hour of serpent, and rain will come at the hour of the horse, reach its limit at the hour of the sheep. There will be altogether 3 foot, 3 inches, and 48 drops of rain."
3 feet of water! Damn! Prepare for flooding? Wait. This is more natural, so I guess... No, it depends on the structure of the city, I guess. I was gonna say, this is a more natural environment being this far back, but like... Yeah, 3 feet of water, 3 inches, and 48 drops. Like, 3 feet of water is a lot. That's a lot. So it all depends on where the Death by Kiddie pool... It's not so much like I'm worried about, like, someone drowning. That's a lot of water damage that could potentially happen. Granted, it also depends on how a place is set up, if they can offset that water anywhere, but that much water is also going to, like, really fill up rivers and lakes and whatnot. Like, that's a dangerous amount of water.
"You had better not be joking now," said the Dragon King, laughing. "If it rains tomorrow, and if it in accordance with the time and amount you prophesize, I shall present you with 50 tassels of gold as my thanks. But if it does not rain, or if the amount and hours are incorrect, I'll tell you truly, I shall come and break your front door to pieces, and tear down your shop sign. You will be chased out of Cheng'en at once, for that you may no longer schedule the multitude."
We ask our great emperor for guidance. It's not more mercury! Sir, have you been reading Cheng'en's stuff again? Why would you say that? Just a feeling, sir.
"You may certainly do that," the master said amiably. "Goodbye for now. Please come again tomorrow after the rain." The Dragon King took leave and returned to his water residence. He was received by various aquatic deities. "How was the great king's visit to the soothsayer?"
No, of course not source cocaine line of metal.
Yes, said the Dragon King. "There is indeed such a person. He's a garrulous fortune-teller. I asked him when it would rain, and he said tomorrow. I asked him again about the time and the amount. He told me the clouds would gather at the hour of the dragon, thunder would be heard at the hour of serpent, that rain would come at the hour of the horse, and would reach its limit at the hour of sheep. All together there will be 3 feet, 3 inches, and 48 drops of rain. I made a wager with him. If it is as he says, I'll reward him 50 tassels of gold. The slightest error, I'll break down his shop and chase him away, so he will not be permitted to seduce some magnitude at Cheng'en."
Not to contradict your plan here, but if he's right, you still intended to kill him.
"The great king is the supreme commander of 8 rivers," said the Water King. "The great dragon deity is in charge of rain. Whether there is going to be rain or not, only the king knows that. How dare he speak so foolishly? That soothsayer is sure to lose."
When the dragon's sons and grandsons were laughing at the matter with the fish and crab officials, a voice was suddenly heard in mid-air announcing, "Dragon King of the Jing River receives imperial command." They raised their head to look and saw a golden-robed guardian, holding the decree of the Jade Emperor, headed straight for the water residence. The Dragon King hastily straightened out his attire and burned incense to receive the decree. After he made his delivery, the guardian rose in the air and left. The Dragon King opened the decree, which said, "We bid the Eight-River Prince to call thunder and ray. Pour out tomorrow, your grace, to benefit Cheng'en's race." The instructions regarding the hour and amount of rain written on the decree didn't even differ in the slightest from the soothsayer's prediction. So overwhelmed with the Dragon King that his spirit left him, his soul fled. Only after a while did he regain consciousness. He said to his waterkin, "There is indeed an intelligent creature in the world of dust. How well he comprehends the laws of heaven and earth! I'm bound to lose to him."
"Let the great king calm himself," said the solemn counselor. "Is it so difficult to get the better of the fortune teller? Your subject here has a little plan that will silence that fellow for good."
When the Dragon King asked what the plan was, the counselor said,
"If the rain tomorrow misses the time, the amount specified by a mere fraction, that will mean that the prediction is not accurate. 1 to 1? What is there to stop you from tearing up his shop sign and putting him on the road?"
The Dragon King took his counsel and stopped worrying. The next day he ordered the Duke of Wind and Lord of Thunder and Boy of Clouds and Mother of Lightning to go with him to the sky of Cheng'en. He waited until the hour of the certain before spreading the clouds, an hour of the horse before letting loose thunder, an hour of sheep before releasing rain. Only by the hour of monkey did the rain stop. There were only 3 foot and 40 drops of water. Since the time was altered by an hour, the amount was changed by 3 inches and 8 drops. After the rain, the Dragon King dismissed his followers, came down from the clouds, transformed once again into a scholar dressed in white. He went to the west gate shop and barged in young Shuang's to Yan Shuang'en or Shui Cheng's shop. Without a word of explanation, he began to smash the shop sign, the brushes, the ink slabs to pieces. The master, however, sat in his chair, remained unmoved. The Dragon King unhinged the door and threatened to hit him with it, crying, "You're nothing but a brugulous prophet of good and evil, an impostor who deludes the minds of the people. Your predictions are incorrect. Your words are patently false. What you told me about time and quantity of today's rain was utterly inaccurate. You dare sit so smugly and so high on your seat. Leave here at once before you're executed." Still young Cheng'en, I am never going to get this guy's name right, Cheng'en was not at all intimidated. He lifted up his head and laughed scornfully. "I'm not afraid," he said. "Not in the least. I'm not guilty of death, but I fear you've committed a mortal crime. You can fool other people, but you can't fool me. I recognize you, all right. You're not a white-robed scholar, but the Dragon King of the Jing River. By altering the tides and holding back the quality of rain, you disobeyed the decree of the Jade Emperor, and transgressed the law of heaven. On the dragon execution block, you won't escape the knife. And here you are railing at me." Power move, let's go! When the Dragon King heard these words, his heart trembled, his hair stood on end. He dropped the door quickly, tidied his clothes, and knelt before the master, saying, I beg the master not to take offense. My previous words were spoken in jest. Little did I know my prank would turn out to be such serious crime. Now I indeed transgress the law of heaven. What am I to do? I beseech the master to save me. If you won't, I'll never let you go. Bitch boy! Basically, it's just like, oh yeah, well then I just won't do it. Well, here the Jade Emperor comes along. Alright, here's the rules. Well, I don't want to obey the rules. He'll start strutting around like he won. You cheated. I'm telling the judge. Oh shit. That summarizes this entire exchange. I can't save you, said Cheng'en. I can only point out to you what may be a way of life.
I'm willing to be instructed,
said the dragon. The master said, you are to be executed tomorrow by the human judge, Wei Zhang, at a quarter past the hour of noon. If you want to preserve your life, you must go quickly to plead your case before the present emperor Teng Taizong, for the Wei Zhang is the prime minister before his throne. If you win the emperor's favor, you'll be spared. Hearing this, the dragon took leave with tears in his eye. Soon the red sun sank down and the moon arose. You see, smoke thickens on purple mountains as homing crows tire. Travelers on distant journeys head for inns. Young wild geese at fords rest on fields of sand. The silver stream appeared to hasten the time float. Light fares in a lone village from dying fame. Wind sweeps the burner to clear Taoist yard of smoke. As man fades away from the butterfly's dream, the moon moves floral shadows over the garden's rails. The stars are rifled as water clocks strike, so swiftly the gloom deepens that it's midnight. Like a bitch. Shut up! Oh my god, you're actually crying. Like a bitch. Well, now I just feel bad. Like putting down old space yellow. How is that a thing? Our Dragon King of the Jing River did not even return to his water home. He waited in the air until it was about an hour of the rat, when he descended upon the clouds and mist and came to the gate of the palace. At this time, the Tang Emperor was just having a dream about taking a walk outside the palace in the moonlight, beneath the shades of flowers. The dragon suddenly assumed the form of a human being and went up to him. Kneeling, he cried out,
Your Majesty, save me, save me!
Who are you? Asked Taizong. We would be glad to save you.
Your Majesty is the true dragon,
said the Dragon King.
But I am a cursed one, because I have disobeyed the decree of heaven. I am to be executed by a worthy subject of your Majesty, the human judge Wei Zhang. I have therefore come to plead with you to save me.
If Wei Zhang's to be your executioner, said Taizong, we can certainly save you. You may leave and not worry. The Dragon King was delighted and left after expressing his gratitude. We tell you now that Taizong, who, having awakened, was still turning over in his mind what he had dreamed. Soon it was 3/5 past the hour of the 5th watch, and Taizong held court for his ministers, both civil and marital, you see. How'd you guys even know this was happening? This isn't a heavenly court. This seems like a local court, like a human court. What the hell's going on here? What does any of this has to do with the main plot? Smoke shrouding the phoenix's arches, incense clouding the dragon's dome, lights shimmering at the silk screen's moves, cloud brushing the feather-trimmed flags, rulers and lords harmonious as Yao and Shun, rituals and music solemn as Han and Zhao's. The attendant lamps, the court maiden fans, showed their colors in pairs. From peacock screens and unicorn halls, light radiates everywhere. 3 cheers for long life, a wish to regain everlasting. When a whip cracks 3 times, the caps and robes will bow to the crown. Brilliant palatine blooms, endued by heaven's scent. Brilliant banks willow, sung and praised by court music. The screens of pearls, the screens of jade, are drawn high by golden hooks. The dragon phoenix fan, the mountain river fan, rest on top of the royal carriage. The civil lords are noble and refined, the marital lords strong and valiant. The imperial path divides the ranks, the vermilion cord aligns the grades. The golden seal and purple sashes bearing the 3 signs will last for millions of years, as heaven and earth. After the ministers had paid their homage, they all went back to standing in rows according to the rank. The Tang Emperor opened his dragon eyes to look at them. One by one, among the civil officials were Feng Zheling, Du Ruhui, Xu Uxizi, Zhu Jingzong, and Wang Gui. And among the military officers was Ma Sunbao, Duan Xingzhe, and Yin Kaishan, Cheng Yaojin, Liu Hongzi, Hui Jingde, and Xin and Su Bao. Each one of them standing there in a most solemn manner. The Prime Minister, Wei Zheng, was not to be seen anywhere. The Tang Emperor asked Zhu Uxize to come forward and said to him, "We had a strange dream last night. There was a man who paid homage to us, calling himself the Dragon King of the Jing River. He said he had disobeyed the command of heaven, and was supposed to be executed by the human judge Wei Zheng. He implored us to save him and gave our consent. Today, Wei Zheng is absent from the ranks. Why is that?" "This dream may be indeed true," answered Shi Zhe, "and Wei Zheng may be summoned to court immediately. Once he arrive, let your majesty keep him for a whole day, and not permit him to leave. After this day, the dragon of the dream will be saved." The Tang Emperor was most delighted. He gave the order at once to have Wei Zheng summoned to court. We speak now of the Prime Minister, Wei Zheng, who studied in moments of stars, burned incense at his home that evening. He heard the cries of the cranes in the air, and saw a heavenly messenger holding the golden decree of the Jade Emperor, who ordered him to execute in his dream the old dragon of Jing River precisely the third quarter past the noon hour. Having thanked the heavenly grace, our Prime Minister prepared himself in his residence by bathing himself and abstaining from food. He was also sharpened his magic sword, exercising his spirit. Therefore he did not attend court. He was terribly flustered when he saw the royal official on duty arriving with summons. Not daring, however, to disobey the Emperor's command, he had to dress quickly and follow the summons to court. Kowtowing and asking for pardon before the throne, the Tang Emperor said, "We pardon indeed our worthy subject." At that time, the various ministers had not yet retired from court, and only after Wei Zheng's arrival was the curtain drawn up for the court's dismissal. Wei Zheng alone was asked to remain. He rolled the golden carriage with the Emperor to enter the chamber for relaxation, where he discussed with the Emperor's tactics for making the empire secure and other affairs of state. When it was just about midway between the hours of serpent and the hours of horse, the Emperor asked the royal attendant to bring out a large chess set, saying, "We shall have a game with our worthy subject." The various concubines took out the chessboard, set it on the imperial table. After expressing his gratitude, Wei Zheng set out to play chess with the Tang Emperor, both of them moving pieces step by step to positions. It's completely in accordance with the instructions of Classic of Chess. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Oh no. Are we gonna have like season 0 Yu-Gi-Oh thing here right now where it's we're gonna play for his life? Oh boy. The way of chess exalts disciples and caution. The most powerful piece should remain in the center, the weakest one at the flanks, the less powerful ones at the corners. There is a familiar law of the chess player. The law says you should rather lose a piece than an advantage. When you strike on the left, you must guard your right. When you attack on the rear, you must watch your front. Only when you have a secure front will you also have a rear. Only if you have a secure rear will you maintain your front. The two ends cannot be separated, yet both must remain flexible and not be encumbered. A broad formation should not be too loose, while a tight position should not be constricted. Rather than clinging on to save a single piece, it is better to sacrifice it in order to win. Rather than moving without purpose, it is better to remain stationary in order to be self-supportive. When your adversary outnumbers you, your first concern is to survive. When you outnumber your adversary, you must strive to exploit your force. He who knows how to win will not prolong his fight. He who is a master of positions will not engage in direct combat. He who knows how to fight will not suffer defeat, and he who knows how to lose will not panic. For chess begins with the proper engagement, but ends in the unexpected victory. If your enemy, even without being threatened, is bringing up his reinforcements, it is a sign of his intention to attack. If he deserts a small piece without trying to save it, he may be stalking up a bigger piece. He moves in a casual manner. He is a man without thoughts. Response without thought is the way to defeat. The classic of poetry says, "Approach with extreme caution as if facing a deep canyon." Such is the meaning, therefore, the poem says, "The chessboard's the earth, the pieces are the sky. The colors are light and dark as the whole universe, when playing reaches the skillful supple stage, boasting and laughing with the old immortal of chess." What the fuck is going on? How many times have I said that during this fucking book? I swear to God. What does any of this have to do with the plot? What even is the plot anymore? Have we all just been deceived? Is Journey to the West not actually about a journey to the West? Is it just about some random yahoos every few chapters getting up to some shit? The two of them, emperor and subject, played chess until 3/4 past noon hour. The game was not yet finished. Suddenly Wei Zhang put his head on the table, fell fast asleep. Tai Zong laughed and said, "Our worthy subject truly has worn himself out for the stead and exhausted his strength. On behalf of the empire, he has therefore fallen asleep in spite of himself." Tai Zong allowed him to sleep and did not arouse him. In a little while, Wei Zhang awoke and prostrated himself on the ground, saying, "Your subject deserves 10,000 deaths! Your subject deserves 10,000 deaths! Just now I lost consciousness for no reason at all. I beg your majesty pardon for such insult against the emperor." "What insult is there?" said Tai Zong. "Arise, let us forget the old game and start a new one." Wei Zhang expressed his gratitude. As he put his hands on a piece, a loud clamor was heard from outside the gate. It was occasioned by ministers Chen Shubao and Zhu Umungong, who arrived with a dragon's head dripping with blood. Throwing it in front of the emperor, they said, "Your majesty has seen the sea turn shallow and rivers run dry. A thing as strange as this we have never heard of." Tai Zong arose with Wei Zhang and said, "Where did this come from?" "South of the 1,000-step corridor," replied Shu Bao and Mao Gong. "At the crossroads, this dragon's head fell from the clouds. Your lowly subject dare not withhold it from you." In alarm, the Tang Emperor asked Wei Zhang, "What's the meaning of this?" Turning to kowtow to him, Wei Zhang said, "This dragon was executed just now by your subject in his dream." The Tang Emperor heard this. He was seized with fear and said, "When our worthy minister was asleep, I did not see any movement of body or limb, nor perceive any scimitar or sword. How could you execute this dragon?" Wei Zhang replied, "My lord, although my body was before my master, I left your majesty in my dream. My body before my master faced the unfinished game. With dim eyes fully closed, I left your majesty in my dream to ride the blessed cloud. When spirit most eager and alert, that dragon on the dragon extinction block was bound up there by celestial hosts. Your subject said, for breaking heaven's law, you're worthy of death. Now by heaven's command, I end your wretched life." The dragon lifted in grief. Your subject bestirred his spirit. The dragon listened in grief, retrieving claws and scales to await his death. Your subject bestirred his spirit, lifting robes and taking step to hold high his blade. With one loud crack and the knife's descent, thus the head of the dragon fell from the sky. When Tai Zong heard these words, he filled both sadness and delight. Delight was caused by the pride in having a minister as good as Wei Zhang. If he was worthy of this kind of court, he thought he need worthy of security of his empire. He was saddened, however, by the fact he had promised in his dream to save the dragon, and not anticipated the creature be killed in this manner. He had forced himself to give the order to Shobao that the dragon's head be hung on display at the market, that the populace of Cheng'en would be informed. Meanwhile, he rewarded Wei Zhang, after which the various ministers dispersed. That night, he returned to his palace in deep depression, for he kept remembering the dragon in his dream, crying and begging for his life. Little did he expect the turn of events would be such that the dragon still could not escape calamity. Having thought of the matter for a long time, he became physically and mentally drained. At about the hour of the second watch, the sound of weeping was heard outside the door of the palace. Taizong became even more fearful, sleeping fitfully when he saw our Dragon King of the Jing Emperor, holding his head dripping with blood in his hand, crying out a loud voice, Ting Taizong, give me back my life! Give me back my life! Last night you were full of promises to save me. Why did you order a human judge in daytime to have me executed? Come on out! Come on out! I'm going to argue this case with you before the king of the underworld. He seized Taizong and would neither let go nor desist from his protestations. Taizong could not say a word. He could only struggle until perspiration covered his entire body. Just at the moment when it seemed nothing would separate them, fragrant clouds and colorful mist appeared from the south. A Taoist priest came forward, waving a willow twig. That headless dragon, still mourning and weeping, left at once towards the northwest, for he sees none other than the Bodhisattva Cheng'en, who by decree of Buddha was seeking a scripture pilgrimage in the land of the east. Oh, hey! We're finally back to her! She was staying at the temple of the local spirit of the city of Cheng'en when she had heard the night of the weeping of demons and crying of spirits. So she came specifically to drive the accursed dragon away and to rescue the emperor. That dragon went directly to the court of the underworld to file a suit, of which we shall say no more. Baseless claim denied. We now tell you of Taizong, who when he woke could only yell out loud, Ghost! Ghost! He was so terrified, the queens of 3 palaces, the concubines of 6 chambers, the attending eunuchs thought they remained sleepless for the entire night. Soon it was the 5th watch, and all the officials of the court, both civil and military, were waiting for an audience outside the gate. They waited until dawn. The emperor did not appear, and every one of them became apprehensive and restless. Only after the sun was high in the sky did a proclamation come out. We are not feeling too well. The ministers are to excuse from court. 5 or 6 days went by swiftly, and the various officials became so anxious that they were about to enter the court without summons and inquire after the throne. Just then the queen's mother gave the order to have the physician brought into the palace, so the multitude waited at the gate of the court for some news. In a little while the physician came out and was questioning the emperor's illness. The pulse of his majesty is irregular, said the physician, for it is weak as well as rapid. He blathers about seeing ghosts. I also perceive there are about 10 movements, 1 rest. No breath lasts in this Varesca. I was afraid he will pass away within 7 days. As various ministers heard this statement, they paled with fright. In the state of alarm, they again heard that Taizong had summoned Yu Mongguan, Huagong, and Yu Qigong to appear before him. The 3 ministers hurried to the auxiliary palace, where they prostrated themselves. Speaking somberly with great effort, Taizong said, My worthy subject, the age of the 19th, I am leading my army in expeditions to the 4 corners of earth. I experienced much hardship throughout the years, never encountered any kind of strange or weird thing. This day, however, I have seen ghosts. When you established your empire, said Yu Qigong, you had to kill countless people. Why should you fear ghosts? You may not believe it, said Taizong, but outside the bedroom of mine at night, there are bricks thrown and spirits screaming at a degree that is truly unmanageable. In the daytime it's not too bad, but it's intolerable at night. Let your majesty be relieved, for this evening your subjects in Jing day will stand guard at the palace gate. We shall see what sort of ghostly business there is. Taizong agreed to the proposal, and Huagong and the other ministers retired after expressing their gratitude. That evening the 2 ministers, in full battle dress, holding the golden bludgeon and battle axe, stood guard outside the palace gate. Dear generals, look how they are attired. They wore on their heads bright glimmering golden helmets, on their bodies cuirasses of dragon scales, their jeweled breastplates glowing like hollowed clouds, with lion knots tightly drawn, and silk sashes newly spun. This one had phoenix eyes facing the sky to frighten the stars. The other had brown eyes glowering like lightning in the shining moon. They were once warriors of the greatest merit, but now they become, for all time, the guardians of the gate, in all ages the protectors of the home. The two generals stood beside the door for the entire night, and not see the slightest disturbance. That night, Taizong rested peacefully in the palace. When morning came, he summoned the two generals in form, and thanked them profusely, saying, "Since falling ill, I have been unable to sleep. I hadn't been able to sleep for days, and only last night did I manage to get some rest because of your presence. Let our worthy ministers retire now for the rest, so we may count on your protection once again at night." The two generals left after expressing their gratitude. For the following 2 or 3 nights after the standing guard brought continued peace. However, the royal appetite diminished, and the illness became more severe. Taizong, moreover, could not bear to see the two generals overworked, so once again he called Shuo Bao, Jingde, the ministers, Du Fang into the palace, saying to them, "Though I've got some rest these past 2 days, I imposed on the two generals the hardship of staying up all night. I wish to have portraits made, both of them by skilled painters, have these pasted on the doors so the two generals may be spared further labor. How about that? Or how about it?" The various ministers obeyed, selected 2 portrait painters, who made pictures of the two generals in their proper battle attire. The portraits were then mounted near the gate. No incident occurred during the night. So it was for 2 or 3 days, until the loud rattling of bricks and tiles was again heard at the rear gate of the palace. At dawn the emperor called together the various ministers, saying, "The past few days there have been happily no incidents at the front of the palace. But last night the noise of the back door was such that they nearly frightened me to death." Gong stepped forward and said, "The disturbance at the front door was driven off by Jingde and Shuo Bao. If there is a disturbance at the rear gate, then Zong ought to stand guard." Taizong approved the suggestion and ordered Zong to guard the rear door. That night, accepting the challenge, donned his full court regalia that evening. Holding the sword which he had slain the dragon, he stood at attention before the rear gate of the palace. What a splendid heroic stature! Look how he is attired. Green satin turban swashed his brow. The silk robe jade belt his waist hung. Wind-blown crane down. Sleeves fly like drifting snow. He bests low and shows divine looks. His feet wear black boots, more supple. His hands hold a blade sharp and fierce. Glaring eyes he stares at all 4 sides. With deviant guide dares approach. A whole night went by, and no ghost appeared. Though there was no incident at either the front or the rear gate, the emperor's condition worsened. One day the queen's mother sent for all the ministers to discuss funeral arrangements. Taizong himself also phoned with Yu Gong to his bedside and to entrust to him affairs of state, committing the crown prince to the minister's care as Wei did Zhang Leng. When he had finished speaking, he bathed and changed his garments, waiting for his time to come. Wei Zhang then stepped out from the side and tugged the royal garment with his hand, saying, "Let the majesty be relieved. Your subject knows something that will guarantee long life for your majesty." "My illness," said Taizong, "has reached the irredeemable stage. My life is in danger. How can you preserve it?" "Your subject has a letter," said Wei, "which I submit to your majesty. Take it with you to hell. Give it to the judge of the underworld, Zhou." "Who is Cui Zhou?" "Cui Zhou," said Wei, "was a subject of the deceased emperor, your father at first. He was the direct magistrate of Qi Hao, and subsequently he was promoted to vice president of the Board of Rights. When he was alive, he was an intimate friend and sworn brother of your subject. Now that he is dead, he has become a judge in the capital of the underworld, having in his charge the chronicles of life and death and the reason of darkness." How do you know this stuff?
"He meets with me frequently, however, in my dreams."
Oh, that's how. Weird.
"If you go there presently, and hand this letter to him, he will certainly remember his obligations towards your lovely subject, and allow your majesty to return here. Surely your soul will return to the human world. Your royal continuance will once more grace the capital."
When Taizong heard these words, he took the letter in hand and put it in his sleeve. With that he closed his eyes and died.
Peace. The queens and concubines from 3 palaces and 6 chambers, and the crown prince and 2 rows of civil and military officials all put on their mourning garbs to mourn him. At the imperial
Whole coffin lay in the state of the Hall of the White Tiger, but we shall say no more of that. We do not know how the soul of Taizong came back. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter. Okay, we'll save that for another time. What the fuck is going on here? I ask that every time I read this. What the fuck is going on here? Like, the fuck? The fuck? What does any of this have to do with the plot? Any of this? I'm so confused. Anyways, with that, I think I'll wrap things up for today. Short stream today, but this is a long one. Having a 2-chapter pace works well for me on this. So, I'd like to wish you all a fond farewell, and thank you for stopping by. If you like this, of course, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because it really helps me out. I have a Ko-Fi and Throne if you so wish to contribute. Oh, thanks for the hydrate, Ina. I will be streaming tomorrow. I don't know what I'll be doing. We might be returning to FGO. Haven't decided yet. But we shall see. If we do return to FGO, I gotta decide what I'm doing next. Do I do a pseudo-singularity? Do I start tackling Seraph? Or do I move on to Hien Kyo? But that'll be for me to figure out. Until next time, everyone. Fare thee well.